Okay, so I just wanted to show off on another website. So this is the My Motherload website. I don't know if you guys use this thing or not. So if I go down into here and hit view page source, right, I can get all sorts of. Oh, this one looks way different. Why does this one look way different? It's coded by somebody else, right? Or written in a different program. Like nobody actually handwrites HTML anymore. You use one of these what you see is what you get editors, so you like kind of drag stuff. And they all code just a little bit differently. So this one's a little bit differently coded than the XKCD one. Does it really matter? Not really. Are the things there like the same stuff? Yeah, probably. Like, okay, there's some more scripts, right? There's like a whole bunch of JavaScript stuff. Oh, hey, that script is much more clearly written. You see that? Like, I understand much better what this script is doing. It's got some clear objects that are clearly document writing and reading stuff, right? If I kind of scroll down a ways, I've got, oh, these are like menu stuff with links in them. We certainly can, and we will. One thing I wanted to show you guys is if you don't do view page source, but if you do inspect instead, right, then you can kind of see which piece is which. So if you want to look in the body, right, so you grab this body thing and you scroll down in here a ways, and table, let's see, I want something I can see. So where's one of these things coming from? Okay, so once I find one of these lines that's generating a whole bunch of stuff, this is like the main chunk of the website. That's the top thing, right? So that's that ad up at the top. Okay, see this? And sometimes you can, you guys catch that? Sometimes you can get stuff to change. This is like an old school web design trick. You guys see that? I can change the local version of the website I'm viewing. I hit the delete key on the main body chunk there, right? So if there's a feature that's causing you problems on a website, which is used to be much more common than it is nowadays, you can go to inspect, find that thing, and just pop that out of there.
Which is what AdBlock does.
Yeah. It used to be really common that people's menus wouldn't work in certain browsers because they would have these like padding issues. Like you couldn't, they'd have a hover over menu, right? So you'd like hover over something and it'd pull up a drop down menu and there'd be a little space in between them. So you couldn't get to the drop down menu. This used to be a great way to get around stuff like that because you could go into the code and just delete that extra space that was making it happen, that was causing problems for your specific browser. Nowadays, this whole process is usually automated by what thing? There's a popular product that automates part of this process.
AdBlock.
Yeah, this is how an ad blocker works. You see that? Like, it looks at the website that it's getting, right? It looks at the HTML code it's getting, and then it picks out which things are ads. How it does that is probably really goddamn complicated, but it does. And then it just turns those pieces of code off so that you don't have to see it. Cool with that? So the inspect thing is nice because you can kind of see which bits are doing what. All right, so I said we could go look at Go Columbia, so here we are. Here's the Columbia website. It's great. Just kidding. It's horrible. So this is an example of one of those drop-down menus that might have been annoying back in the day. Right now they're all pretty good. The web browsers have gotten much better at being consistent. There's actually a whole project to make websites consistent. That's that W3C. Those guys, that's basically a whole bunch of web developers who all communicate and have regular conferences, and their goal is simply to make the internet relatively uniform. so that websites all display in basically the same way. The content, of course, can be whatever the heck it is, but at the very least, the HTML coding should all be relatively uniform, and things should mean basically the same stuff, so that browsers can interpret websites all in the same way, and you don't have these issues with like paddings, or some web browsers will display one kind of image and others won't, or the classic used to be blink. The blink command worked in some of the browsers and not in others, but the blink command is asinine anyway, so nobody uses it now, which is great. Yeah, instead we use GIFs, which is, yeah. I don't know why it's giving me an option to translate this page to English. But it did something. I don't know what.
Oh, we can read it now.
Thank God. Anyway, if we go in here to the view page source, right, you can see that all this stuff. Oh.
At least it's properly indented.
Yeah, actually, this chunk here, this is a nice segue, actually, into the next thing I wanted to talk about. This chunk, this whole object, what is that thing right there? Yeah, that's one slide. You guys see that? Like, that's a welcome slide. And then this next slide is a first year tuition free slide. And then the next slide is something about visit our campus.
Is that that picture?
Oh, look, check that out. That's that first year tuition free thing. When's it switch? If I wait a minute, or if I just refresh the page.
It always starts on.
Oh, it starts on this one, and then if I wait a while, it'll switch.
Can we see how long it has to wait?
Yeah, we probably could. So if we go into view source, let's see.
Most sites would have a little arrow bar on the side.
Yeah, I would assume it
Right, but
does, but it doesn't. So
Yeah.
I don't see an obvious spot where it says how long it waits, but it's in here somewhere. The thing I wanted to talk about is this data, right? That's making this slide. Like a slide has a couple things, right? Like a slide is a picture, right? And let's see, where's my picture? So I've got this welcome, I've got some kind of subtext, I've got an image source, right? That's this guy. Then we've got, where's the other thing? Oh, there's an alt text. And if you look at the other, oh God. If you look at the other one down here, right, the second slide, we've got that's a PHP. What's a PHP? What's a .php thing? No. Wikipedia. Wikipedia will tell me. Oh, PHP is a server-sided language for web stuff. Can be embedded into HTML code. It's a little bit like scripting, right? It's a way to make the web page do stuff, right? So in this case, that's probably where that wait time is. It's probably hidden in that PHP script.
So what happens if you open it?
Good question.
Or is that just the link?
So it took me to get started default.php, right? So this is apparently a PHP file that I'm looking at that my web browser is interpreting for me. You guys see that? Basically, it's another way to interact with HTML code. There's a whole scripting language called PHP. There's also kind of PHP that you use to generate HTML code. These ones are probably just generating HTML code. They're probably not scripting, right? What I mean by scripting is they're a little programming language that runs in the web browser, right? Okay, so the question is, where did all this data come from? You see this? This looks really clean, right? But do you think somebody goes in here and types this? Probably not. Probably there's a place in the background somewhere here where the information about each of those slides is stored, right? And each of those slides would have like at least 4 pieces of information, right? It's pretty clear that they have a picture, right? They have some kind of alt text. They have a header and some kind of a paragraph statement to go with them, right? So each slide is made up of 4 pieces of information. And you would keep that kind of in the background in something called an XML file. And then when the website is generated by the server, it goes to look at the XML file and then writes the HTML file based on what's in the XML. Does that make any sense? Did I lose you guys? Did I lose you just there?
So it's like a cooking sheet where it's saying, okay, this is how you want it set up.
Exactly. So there's a little cookbook, right? That's a little piece of script of some kind that takes the XML file and turns it into HTML. So you're using a piece of code to take a piece of code and turn it into a different kind of code.
So
Right?
it's really complicated casting.
Yeah, you could think about it exactly as typecasting in a program, right? This is typecasting from data to stuff that you can view in a web browser. You guys cool with that? Okay.